Okay, so I'm kind of bad with words, so bear with me, but I just had like this revelation on the metalhead like in the 90s and 80s to like dad rock to alt-right pipeline. Especially because I see a lot of kids of parents who were raised like this and they raised their kids to listen to this music and to teach them to not be posers within the community. But by seeing this within the next generation, you miss out a lot that you could have seen firsthand and experienced firsthand as a metalhead growing up during that time. And I'm sure a lot of other people my age and within these generations like know or in the know, but it seems that a lot of other people aren't in the know. The big thing with like metal was that it was during the satanic panic time era, and a lot of elders were scared of this music. It was like angry and dangerous and satanic and loud and really loud and heavy. They were saying and doing all kinds of crazy stuff just to be controversial. Cancel culture wasn't a thing back then. But if it was, it's like this counterculture of like trying to make this other side angry and just doing it for the love of the game, just to make their community, their strict conformed community and their conservative parents angry. They were rebelling. Even if they were in their 20s and 30s, they were still rebelling. One thing you see a lot within this time period was that even the members of Metallica, they wore symbols, whether it be like SS, the Iron Cross, the actual symbols, like saluting, all that crazy stuff on stage, on like wearing the symbols on their guitars or on their shirts, just acting a damn fool. And there's some historical subtext within this. I think that they may have seen like things like the Holocaust and World War II as like how our generation sees 9/11, as in like these people did horrible things to other humans and targeted these innocent humans. But like as it translates into the next generation, as it got pounded into like the next generation as they're growing up at like way too young of an age, they kind of just stopped taking it so seriously. And I'm pointing this out not to like go back and cancel these older bands, people, or what these people did, but more so to highlight on the subtext and the culture of that time period and why they fell down these pipelines of rage bait. Because whenever they saw like the younger generation and like the culture around them to go back and be like, hey, like calling out all these little signs that they used to do back in the day and used to have fun with, and saw that their celebrities that they worshipped and looked up to doing all this stuff, they're like, wait a second, we did that. We're offended by you getting offended by that. They saw they saw us as like their elders, and they started seeing us, and the culture is like shifting to how their elders were back in the day, as in grasping their pearls over stuff that they did and they're just fooling around with. They're like, oh, they're just, they have all these excuses for them. Quit taking it so seriously. Oh, you think that's bad? You should see what we did back in the day. We're so much cooler. You see Gen X try to be like so edgy all the time on Facebook and everything else. And like I said, several people within my generation who are like into the subcultures, like they know of all this, and they kind of do that too. Like, oh, I see the post every once in a while, like, oh, don't let this newer generation see the Misfits or see these death metal songs. They're gonna hate this. And I think there's like this difference because you couldn't show these other people that because they're gonna take it seriously. And these things, they aren't meant to be taken seriously for the most part. They're just meant to be rage bait. They were the OG rage baiters. So when woke came back in, you can kind of see why all those people who saw that and were like, wait a second, you should see what we did back in the day. And you see this, like, not just with metalheads, but with all subcultures and with Gen X, like, oh, we used to say the R word, we used to do this, we used to do that, we used to spit in the milk and, like, serve it to people, like, and I think they're just having a hard time grasping, like, just because it's unacceptable now doesn't make you a bad person because you did it when it was normal back in the day, if that makes sense. Like, times change and moralities change, like and I'm not excusing the behavior. I know it sounds like it, but I'm just doing more of like an understanding thing of like why they fell down that alt-right pipeline so hard, because they were rage baiting. And there's another thing too where as you get older, you tend to go back to more of your childish roots of childish, like, what you were surrounded by in your culture, or what you believed in. And there's also like a rise of conservatism as you get older. This has been studied for years. But I think it's important to know that, like, for people who say, I don't understand why he listened to this music and now he's alt-right, because I don't think they're getting the full picture. And I think maybe getting the full picture will help them understand that. I don't know, I'm sure I've stepped on some toes here, so I can't wait to, if people will comment on this, what they're gonna say, and maybe get some good engagement out of this, not for like my own thing, but just because I think this is an interesting topic and an interesting thing to like bring up, and just an important conversation to have around rage baiting and subcultures, because this is such a prevalent topic in our time that's affecting all of us.